It's beautiful to look at someone's tapestry of their life and how different pieces have been woven together. Today, we're going to speak with a lady who has taken embodied awareness to an authentic and grounded level.
My favorite saying is there's a process for everyone, but not every process is for everyone.
Welcome to the Frequency Files. Thanks for joining us as we explore the vibrations, forms, and creations and mechanisms behind them that inform the nature of existence. Angela Rojas is a transformational coach and a lifelong seeker of mind body spirit integration, with a foundation in yoga, neuroscience, and decades of intuitive healing practices, including training and teaching many modalities. She's also worked directly with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Ange really blends spiritual wisdom, subconscious pattern shifting, and an embodied toolkit to help people clear blocks, unlock inner guidance, and live flourished lives. We've known each other for a while, and I am very excited to have you here today. You're a lady of many talents, and yeah, when I was thinking about all the different skills and abilities you have, the words broad and deep came to my mind.
Mm.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Sarah. Yes, we have known each other a long time. I don't even know when we met, but it's a long time. However long you've been in Queensland, add another 5 or 6 years to that.
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, broad. I love that you said broad and deep because the beginning of this year, when people said, "What are you working on this year?" I said, I want to work on deepening my relationships with my friends. I've got a lot of people, but I want to go deeper rather than wider. So when you said broad and deep, I thought, oh, I actually like that because my life is about meeting so many people. So what's wrong with having broad connections and choosing which ones I have deeper connections with that broad? So it was a perfect way that you could put um, a description of me, broad and deep. Love it. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. I would love to know how your journey into spirituality, into energy work, into personal development began.
I love that question. It, if someone had said to me I was going to be a healer or a coach or any of that or spiritual, I would have said, I don't think so. I'm going to be a hairdresser. But my first experience of ever tapping into this world was Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. I don't know what year that would have been. Or 89, I read the book. I remember I was in high school. And I remember reading at the back of the book what she'd studied and what church she was in. And I just went, oh my God, to get to America, it's like $4,000. And back in 1989, $4,000 would have been so much money. But anyway, I just knew the body inside out. And I always said, oh, I'd love to do this for a living. Anyway, fast forward years later, I just used to love affirmations. And that's all I did was read Louise Hay, Deepak Chopra, Stuart Wilde, Wayne Dyer. I got to see them in 1999 when they came to Australia. And then I really didn't ever consider becoming a healer or anything. I just had this knowledge of the body and affirmations and what the probable cause was and what the affirmation you needed to say. It wasn't until I was 29 that I got married. And my husband and I were having marital issues where I realized I'd married my father. I'd realized I'd married what represented my dad, and I had a healing done. And this guy, Ron Urquhart, did this breath work. This was when breath work was even breath work now. And he did this session on me. My body jumped. And I remember coming out of that session going, oh my God, I feel amazing. And everything that came out in that session, all my traumas, all these memories that I'd shut down. And I just remember looking up at him and said, I want to become a healer. I want to learn this. I want to do what you did to me. I want everyone to have this experience. So I came home and I told my husband, right, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to become a healer. I'm going to heal the world. And he said, well, I want a divorce. And I went, so I was wrapped because the truth was, he was only in my life for me to see, for me to acknowledge that I had a wounded child that was looking for a father, and I married my father. And through through our relationship, I realized, oh my God, I'm repeating my mother's story. I'm going to end up doing exactly what my mother did. So I was happy that he wanted a divorce, because my psychologist at the time said that I shouldn't um, walk away. I should actually try and fix things, because my mother had walked away. And now that I look back, I think, yeah, possibly that's the truth. But the truth was I married my father and I needed to walk away. So that's how I started. I did this workshop, which was called back then Energy Movement, which was deep breath work and, regression. So we did like birth regressions, because that was really big in the late 80s, early 90s regression. Breath work wasn't called breath work like it is now. So my first skill set is breath work. And now breath work is freaking huge. But the truth was I became a yoga teacher first. So through that experience of my husband, my psychologist, another psychologist that we had to see through as together, she said, you need to do meditation because you talk too fast. You don't know how to breathe. And your mind is 1,000 miles. Now, let me tell you, that hasn't changed. I still talk fast. I still think 1,000 miles away. But the difference is I have far more control of my mind. And I went looking for this yoga, a meditation place. I met this beautiful lady that suggested I go to Satchitananda Yoga and said, come to mine. And I said, no, no, no. My psychologist said I need meditation, not yoga. So I checked out this meditation place, and then they didn't have no information. I couldn't go in. And so I thought, oh, it's around the corner, the Satchitananda. Let me go check it out. Did the class, absolutely fell in love with yoga. They had meditation at the end of every session. And I did a meditation class with them on a Sunday. And I said, this is it. This is what I have to do. So that's how I got into it. However, I became a yoga teacher first. And my friend, who I'd helped her with whatever she was going through in her life, with some affirmations, she was able to quit her job, build a business, buy a house in Coogee, and got rid of a boyfriend that was was a bit of a cocaine addict. And I remember coming to a house saying, I don't know what to do with my life. I got broken up with another boyfriend. And she said, I am where I am today because of your affirmations, your advice, everything that you've given me. And she said, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? And I said, I would heal the world. And she said, you need to do this course. And she directed me to do a course with Mark Anthony in Sydney called Theta Healing. That was in 2000 and I don't know, 2004, I think. And I did it. Oh no, not 2004, 2009. And I did that course, and I remember looking up at the teacher and I said, oh my God, I can do what he's doing. And my friend said, Ange, the best thing about Mark is that he knows the body like you do. He knows everything about the body like you do. And I remember when I was watching him, Mark is an amazing teacher, but I remember thinking, I can teach that better than him. And I came to Melbourne and I became a teacher. I learned theta healing. I did basic advanced. I went to Idaho and did intuitive anatomy with Vienna. And then I came back and I did instructors that year. And that was my foundations. My foundations was theta healing, and I learned how to connect with people, how to find bottom beliefs, how to counsel people, how to do some form of therapy. And that was it. I became a teacher, and through theta healing is how I built my business. So that's how I got into the spiritual world, through one book, Lois Hay, that ended up becoming theta healing, I don't know, 10 years later. Exactly, you could
Amazing.
say.
Yeah. And what I love about your work and your journey, Ange, is that you're always learning and always
Mm,
curious.
yeah,
And so it's very much always evolving
yeah.
as you evolve, right? And
Yeah.
as the planet evolves and new modalities come out, and that learning is just a continuous journey that you go on and that you take your students and clients on.
And you have to, if you're not progressing, then your clients don't progress. And I remember when I did theta healing, I loved it. I love theta healing. I was like, oh my God, this world of beliefs. And I thought affirmations and probable causes were great, but beliefs, these are programs. And then I met Dr. Joe, and I remember, and everyone says, you're going to ask me this question, I know, because everyone always asks me, how did you meet Dr. Joe and how did you get to work with him? I remember watching the movie, what the bleep do we know? Back in 2004, and I was studying to be a yoga teacher. It was my first year. And I remember looking at the screen. I said to my friend, "Oh, Mal, you have to come with me and watch this movie that everyone's talking about." I was living in Sydney, and we went to Newtown and watched this movie. And I sat there and I looked at it and I said, "Oh my God, I would love to pick this man's brain one day, have a dinner with him and just pick his brains." Well, lo and behold, how many years later, in 2012, I sat with him and picked his brains over dinner. And I was blown away. And I've got, I'm not that competitive anymore, but I remember seeing his trainers for the first time, one of his first Australian trainers in 2012 or 2011 when he came to Australia. And I looked at them and I went, "Wait, they're his trainers?" And I was a bit shocked. And I go, "I can do that better than them." I just had I still have a competitive streak, but I'm not now. I can just observe and sit back and go, "Oh yeah, that's where they're at now. I'm in a different journey." But back then I was like, "I can do things better than them." And I applied to be one of his trainers and I got in.
Right.
He interviewed. We at first got interviewed by his coach, who coaches the
Yep.
program. And then we had to have an interview with him. And he just looked at me and he said, "Wow, look at your energy." And he said, "You're going to do really well here. I need we need people like you that actually do the corporate world, but also do the spiritual work." So yeah, I became a trainer with Dr. Joe, and that set my next foundation. So that sort of raised the bar of the work and the people that I was going to start to attract, because when you're in the spiritual world, you attract fairy dust, you attract fluffy people. And now, I guess that I had a phone call of a client. She inquired through my website and I rang her back and she said, "Oh, do you do Reiki?" And I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm not the coach or healer for you. If you're looking for Reiki, that's not me." And she said, "Oh, the thing is," um, I said, "Let me just give me a brief of what you want to work on." And she said, "Oh, I've attracted this partner and I just need to work on this." And I said, "Well, Reiki ain't going to fix it." I said, "There's a belief in you that's attracted this partner. So we need to work on you. It's not about an energy balance here." And when she said, "Yeah, I realized my last three partners are the same," I said, "Well, the issue's you, not he, not them." And Reiki's not going to look at that. Reiki's just going to bring balance, energy into your body when you're out of balance, but it's not going to unpack your system. So Dr. Joe sort of set the bar to another level where I started to understand that you don't need to connect to anything to make a change. You just need an aha moment, a moment of awareness. The minute you acknowledge or get something that you're a pattern that you have, the minute you go, "Oh my God, now I know why I do this," or "Now I know where I got this from," that's it. Your brain has pruned its connection to that pattern and it's rewiring instantaneously. So in theta healing, we had to go into this meditative state, connect to what we call the creator, ask to pull this belief and change it, and then instill feelings. And like, you don't need that. You just need to go, "Oh my God, this is what I do." And the more that you stop that wiring in the brain, you stop those connections, the more that you're going to create new patterns and behaviors. That's it. It's that simple. But of course, you have to go a little bit deeper and work on the body, the emotions and how the emotions connect to the thoughts and how the thoughts send signals to the body so that you respond in those emotions. There's a lot more, but the point is you don't need to connect to anything to outside of you to make a change. It's all within us. Our whole system knows how it works. And just that awareness or that aha moment can dismantle hundreds of belief systems. So as you evolve, and then the other thing I love is I see a lot of my old students come back and they learn through me again, or they come as clients now. And I see a lot of them say, "Oh, I want to go back and I want to do theta healing." And I say, "Well, go, but you're going to attract people that are just tapping into the world of beliefs." Because theta healing today is for those that are just learning that they have control of their belief systems and they can change it. So it's in countries like Turkey and Greece and all those countries that sort of think I'm destined to be this way. No, you're not. You can be more than this. It's a belief. So it's outgrown countries like Australia and America and the UK. There are still hundreds of teachers out there, and I think it's a beautiful modality to start with, but I've outgrown it. And as I've outgrown the modality and tapped into new processes, then I attract people. And as our frequency of life changes,
Yeah.
then you've got to adapt.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're still doing, and there is a place, my favorite saying is there's a process for everyone, but not every process is for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I would add to that, there's times where a process or a modality can be a medicine or a poison at a
Yeah,
different moment for
yeah,
different people for different
yeah,
reasons. So
yeah,
that's why we've got to trust the uniqueness of everyone's journey.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So you worked with Joe Dispenza and his team
Mm, for 6 years.
for 6 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And how did that inform how you integrated the intuitive layers of your work?
When I learned theta healing, it was all about scanning people's bodies. So
Yeah.
I became a medical intuitive with theta healing. So I love Caroline Mason, the way she just worked with people's bodies
Mm,
and scanned them. I said, I want that. I have what she's having. And intuitive healing, theta healing's intuitive anatomy is what it taught you that. So scanning people's body, it wasn't even scanning. I stopped scanning people's bodies. I would just listen to their stories.
mm,
And by listening to their stories, I was already connecting all these beliefs that were creating all these conditions in their life and in their bodies and in their environment and in their world. And with Dr. Joe's work, what the difference that I found with Dr. Joe's work was that Dr. Joe had a systematic approach, which was the meditations. And he had a biology that was happening in the mind and body in relation to feelings and beliefs and how it works. So he gave you this map. And so the intuition of what I already had about listening to people's beliefs and intuitively connecting them to their conditions is
mm.
what helped me there to work with the everyday person. So what Dr. Joe helped me do is attract people of another level that were looking for coaching. And these people weren't into spirituality. So then
Mm.
I had to refine my language so I could
Yeah.
meet them. And by meeting them at where they're at, then I was able to cater for a bigger audience, a different type of style of person, more men. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden I realized then when I did Dr. Joe's work, because he really ingrained in us about doing the inner work ourselves, and also doing the meditations. What I found in Dr. Joe's work was coaching. I'd never really coached. I was a healer. So I was telling people, I was healing them. I was telling them, this is why you have this. So we're going to change this. We're going to do that. So I was like a little board saying, okay, we're going to change this belief. And we're going to create this new belief. And we're going to take this feeling away, instill this feeling. And you've got this in your body because you have these beliefs. So people walking away saying, oh my God, I have this because this happened when I was 6 and this happened when I was 8 and my mum did this. And then they'll come back. They weren't doing any work. Whereas Dr. Joe was about doing the work and what are you thinking, acting, and feeling to create that. So with Dr. Joe's work, I realized, oh my God, I don't want to be a healer anymore. I want to be a coach. I want to help people that tell me, I've got this issue. How do I get to the next step? And
Mm.
then I can go with them. Okay, we need to think like this. We need to feel like this, and we need to act like this. Let's get an action plan in place.
Yeah.
And that's when my work started to change. And again, that's not enough because an action plan is good to action, but then there's blocks that come in all the time. Or
Yeah.
there's every time we evolve, the minute you go into another level, like you start off as a teenager, then you have a partner, and then you get married. Every level of growth has another level of set of systems or belief systems that are triggered from our childhood memories at
Mm.
another level.
Sure.
So as we're progressing, so are and the depth of our programs progress, and I wouldn't say fears, but those areas that we didn't see as children that we now see as adults that will bring a memory of, oh my God, I saw this with my parents
Yeah.
type of stuff. So all that. And so again, I had to continue to evolve and advance in my processes and modalities so I can be at the next level, because otherwise I was just going to keep attracting people that didn't know what a belief was or didn't understand that they had control of their life. After coaching, I got, executives and business people and companies work with me. Now it's people that CEOs saying, I've never done this kind of work. Can you help me? I've never done counseling. And they're millionaires and gone, I've never done counseling. I know how to I've done coaching in the business for my business, but I've never done anything for my personal growth. So
Mm.
that's when you start to realize, oh, I'm glad that I learned this process because this is the perfect process for this language for this person. He's not going to understand. Let's connect to the creator.
Yeah. 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 So meet them where
Yeah.
they're at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does frequency mean to you?
Frequency to me is, if we the word that comes to my mind is a calibration. It's like, to me it means where you are at.
Mm.
It's, where are you vibrating at? That's how I see frequency.
Yeah, yeah. And in your life, what methods or approaches do you use to support your alignment or your calibration?
So I have a lot of friends that, get a little bit triggered about what's going on in the outside world and what's happening with, phones and 5G and whatever. And I say to them, you've got to understand, as that's evolving, so is our system. So if there's 5G phones out there, then our body must be able to cope with 5G. But if you are shutting yourself away from the 5G, then yes, your body can't cope with it. So if you shut yourself from those systems that trigger the frequency in your body, then of course you're not going to be able to cope with it. But as you move with what's happening in society, then you cope with it. Now, I'm the type of coach, healer person that constantly does the work. So for me, if I'm not doing the work, then I'm not at a frequency that I can see people. So I see a therapist myself, an emotional mental therapist. I see a coach. I do physical work, whether it's physiotherapy or osteo, or even network chiropractic, or anything to do with the mind body. I do it all: physical, emotional, mental, and breathing, and a lot of podcasts. That's how I maintain my frequency,
Mm,
because information that comes in elevates me. Information that comes in brings me to another level, because my brain then says, oh, I didn't know that. And then I get excited about it. And then I just go read a book that's going to give me more information. So then as I'm reading, I'm evolving mentally. As I'm speaking to someone and unpacking my work, I'm evolving myself. So then when I see a client, I can help them. And physically, we need to work on all four bodies. Our physical body is super important. So I remember back in the day when I was doing a lot of spiritual work, we were all quite overweight because we were carrying a lot of the spiritual work in us. We weren't moving. Now I'm 52 and I look better than when I was 40, because I have to move that energy. I have to move all that information that comes in from people sitting down in front, listening to stories. I've got to find an outlet. But it's also just for me, the better I am in sleeping and energetic. And exercise for me, strength training for me is what keeps me going. But 15 years ago or 10 years ago, there's no way I would have gone to the gym. I was like, nah, you just need yoga, meditation, and that's all you need. But no, you need more. So
mm,
that's how I maintain my frequencies, is working on my four bodies.
great. And how do you move between that subtle energetic awareness and this grounded real world transformation?
Yeah. Um I work full time and I still see clients and I have my own business. And for me, it's so important to have me time. So even though I'm vivacious and I'm quite active on my social media, and I laugh and I have that, really energetic personality, and I'm fun. I need to pull back a lot. So if I've been working all week and I've been seeing clients in the evenings on a Saturday, guaranteed on a Sunday, I won't pick up the phone. I won't talk to anyone. And I love going away. Like, I went away to New Zealand on my own recently. Just pack up on the Friday and come back on the Monday, just on my own. I'll go walk the beach. I might catch up with a friend or a client that's from New Zealand. And I need to step back into my space. And,
Mm,
and seeing, getting therapy done, or even going training, all of that. I
mm,
have to have time for myself. So I can be, what's that new word, ambivert, where you can be everywhere, but then you choose to be on your own. That's me. I absolutely
yeah,
love my time.
yeah.
And, because I work Monday to Friday in an office, in the evenings, I come home and I'm quite happy not to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
have dinner. It's 5:30. I eat dinner like the old farts.
Same. Nursing
Bang
home
at five,
dinner all the
yeah,
way.
5 o'clock, and I'm in my pajamas by 6:30 if I've had a walk. So yeah, so that's how I maintain. I don't like, years ago I used to do the whole crystals and that. I don't believe in any of that. I believe that we are the vibration. I love liquid crystals, so I'm a big fan of taking a liquid crystal because that is the foundations. That's our minerals, that's our structure, that's our bones, that's a geometry structure as well. It's also the earth, the soil. So that sort of like keeps the foundations. And all of the other systems that I work with, processes like network chiropractic, NSA, or neurological integrated system, anything that brings balance into the mind and body, um, is what keeps me maintaining my frequency.
Yeah, amazing.
Mm.
We were speaking on the phone last week about IFS and that as a
Yeah.
modality that you've been exploring. How did that come to you? What is it? And can you describe how using that lens in coaching can support people?
IFS is an interesting system. I came across a trainer coach, Chris Duncan, and I love his work. I
Oh,
really
yep.
love I love his enthusiasm. I remember listening to him one day going, oh my God, he's just a male version of me. He's done everything, right? And he's just grabbed magnetic mind and really made something out of it. And he's been
Mm.
trained by the one of the best teachers. William, we did the William
William
White
White
class
Cloud and
together.
yeah.
Yeah, and he's done Dr. Joe and he's done Matrix Energetics and he's done a whole stuff that I've done. But he had this modality in there by a psychologist, I can't remember now, but it was about parts and understanding this system. I can't remember what the psychologist is called. Anyway, I went and bought his books and I read them, but I just couldn't understand. I understood the work, but I felt it really difficult to connect. I connected to the field, but I felt it difficult to be accurate in what was going on with the person. I wasn't sure. What I discovered was in all of my years of healing and coaching and working with clients, the more involved you are in their healing, the less healing happens.
Mm.
So the more you're doing the work, the less is happening because that person is not aware of what's going on. So I found that the more I stepped back as a healer and was more of the observer and the facilitator of the healing and guiding them, the more that they progressed and got further, and I could let them go so they could then become their own healers. So with the modality that Chris Duncan does, the magnetic mind, I can't remember what it's called now, you're doing that for them. You're doing all the talking, you're tapping into these beliefs and you're
Super
changing
conscious
these.
thing and
Yeah, so you're doing it all for them, like you're and it's like, who made you God? In that not Chris, but I was thinking, who made me God to decide, that this is what's going on, that's what's going on, and I'm going to change this and I'm going to change that. I already did that in theatre healing. So I felt like I was just reinventing a modality with just more awareness and more information. So when a friend of mine, Georgie, she's an amazing corporate coach, she introduced IFS to me. And she said to me, IFS is about these parts, and there's a part that, you have a manager that will tell you, you need to achieve, you can't do this. And then you have this firefighter. These words that she was saying, I didn't mean anything to me. I was like, I don't get what you're trying to tell me here. And I was in my mind, I was actually arguing with her because I thought, I know this. I've read all these books from this psychologist. She goes, no, this guy's an actual psychotherapist. And I go, no, I think he got the work from this psychologist. So I'm in the competitive mode still. Then I thought, you know what, I'm going to go investigate this. So they had this coaching program, which is just to become an informed coach. It's not to become a therapist or a practitioner. It's just for coaches to understand IFS. And it was then that I went, oh my God, everyone needs to do this or have a session, because we all acknowledge that part of us that says, part of me wants to do this and part of me wants to do that. Part of me feels like this and part of me feels like that. And everyone says it. There's a part of me that wants this. And IFS is about finding those parts, those inner voices, feelings or patterns that are carrying wounds, that are protecting us. So when I delved into the work, I said, oh my God, this is it. This is an everyday language. And I started practicing on people just to see how, if I could work with them in a session. So they had no idea I was practicing on them. So my clients would come for normal sessions and I was like, oh, let's do this. And what part is this? Let's find this part. Let's find that part. And they were just telling me, oh my God, I discovered this and I realized this. And I thought, oh my God, this works. So then I thought, I've got to take this seriously. So IFS is not new. It's been around for 40 years. It's only that speakers out there like Gabor Mate and other psychotherapists are talking, they mention it. And so everyone said, what's IFS? And so now it's become big.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happened. So in just IFS means internal family systems. And if you look at all the work that I've done with clients has always got to do with the family. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother did this and they did this to me. My work does this to me. And I don't know how I felt because when I was a child, I was never loved. And because I was a child, I was picked on. Internal family system is going into your own family, not your parents, your brother, your sister. It's your own system. So we call the exile, which is the wounded child, which is the one that hides from the world because they've got the pain, the trauma, the abandonment, the shame, the grief. And then you have these protectors protecting this exile, which is the firefighters. They're the ones that jump into, don't feel like this, so let's numb it with alcohol or overeat or binge because we don't want you to go into that pain. And then we have the managers, and these are the ones that keep everything under control. They're the strategies. Now you've got to do this first, and then you've got to do that. So they're keeping tabs on everything that needs to happen. So the managers and the firefighters are protecting this wounded exile. But what we're really trying to tap into is our authentic true self, which is innocent and is fearless and is curious and it's calm and it's confident and, they call it the 9 C's. So they're finding they're compassionate. They're all about curiosity, like a little kid, little kids are curious and they've got no fears. So IFS is allowing those parts to come up, and rather than shutting them down, let's change this and get rid of this. I'm anxious and let's replace it with I can live with that anxiety. It's saying, okay, let's look at this anxiety. What are you protecting me from? And you have an internal dialogue with your parts, your managers, your firefighters, until they go, well, I'm only trying to protect you because you were rejected as a child, so I don't want you to get rejected again. So here I am protecting you. So as we ease and let them know that they're doing a great job, but it's okay, then they start to blend in with you. So they're no longer in as a protector. They can be part with you, integrated. And so then little by little, we start to get that true self come out. And the true self has no fear. The true self is confident. The true self is calm and compassionate and curious. And that's what we want to get to. So internal family system is the conversation you have internally with your managers or with your protectors. So that's why, and it's a language that every person understands.
Yeah.
The CEO will say, part of me wants to hire them, the other part of me saying, I don't trust them. So, I'd go, let's look at the part that you don't trust, which one do you want to work on?
Yeah.
And then it'll unpack to a memory that they're protecting an exile. Does that make sense? So
Totally.
I think IFS is, if you haven't had a session, get a session. It's just amazing how you unpack. I mean, I did it recently on someone and it was just so beautiful where he said, oh my God, I just remembered this. And then it went into this whole cascade of memories and he remembered everything vividly and then he knew what he was protecting. And I remember looking at the time and I said to him, listen, I'm happy to continue, but you've got a meeting to go to. And he said, yep. He goes, no, this is good. I'll be back. Do that to me again. Like he loved it. And he's a coaching client that had never done any inner work.
I think there's something that resonates with our humanity when we're working archetypally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And IFS, what I love about IFS is that it complements whatever you work with. I've really changed a lot of my work because I just said, I don't want to compartmentalize my work. I do access, I do this, I do that. I said, I want to get rid of all of that. And really what I love is I want to sit in a room with you, tell me what's going on. Let me look at what are you here to learn for this life? What are your challenges? Because that's on a soul level. So there's things that you just can't change, but we can ease it. So let's have a look at your soul contracts. Let's have a look at what your challenges are all about. But not everyone understands or has a belief that we have a soul or that we have a spirit or we have another life. So then IFS caters for those that want to understand the psyche,
Mm.
understand why I have these parts of me that don't want to, I
Yeah.
want to lose weight, but I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a
Yeah.
different access point to explore
Yeah.
that
So I
theme.
thought, yeah, and that's where I changed all my work, and I've got it really clear on my website. I will integrate IFS in all my work, in my coaching, in my mentoring, and in my soul work, but I don't integrate the soul energy work into my IFS because it doesn't need it. IFS on its own is plenty, but
Mm.
the other modalities, I believe, need IFS in there as
Mm.
an access point to access the true self.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And with all your decades of spiritual, metaphysical, neuroscience, coaching, study behind you, what do you feel is emerging now in our collective consciousness? And you've shared a little bit about how
Mm.
your work supports that emergence, but if there's anything further you want to share around
Yeah.
that.
People say to me, I'm single at the moment, and people say to me, oh, do you want a spiritual person? I say, nah, nah, because spirituality is a word now that I want to run away from. What's emerging now is awareness. You have to have awareness. If you don't have awareness, then you're not going to progress. So awareness means I'm aware of what I said was wrong. Awareness is, oh, look at the way they're acting. Wow, that's interesting. Rather than being judgment or you're not spiritual and I'm spiritual. No, you're not.
Mm.
Spirituality is it's overused. If someone says I'm very spiritual, I run. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not. I'm aware because spirituality is no longer the word that it meant. It's a connection to spirit. It's a connection to yourself. And you see these people, I'm very spiritual, I do this, I do that. Then you ask them, when was the last time that you did this? You connected with yourself and look at the way you act. When it was, the word I remember reading or listening to a podcast and it said, or maybe it was a book, self-enlightenment has got nothing to do with enlightenment, it's with self-awareness. It's being self-aware. We need to reach self-awareness, and that's what's emerging. If you're not aware of yourself, your patterns, your psyche, your triggers, then stay ignorant because it's blissful. But self-awareness today or enlightenment is about being in light of who you are, not enlightenment as in elevating and I see the light and I'm the awakened one. No, it's not about that. And those that people say I'm the awakened one, I sit there and I go, well, then why are you still in flesh and bones? If you're that enlightened, you should be floating out there in the ether and, but I believe it's about being aware of yourself, my triggers, and then being aware so that you're not triggering others you're not projecting your triggers onto others. That's what I believe the emergence is now. And everyone needs to get to that point of self-awareness. And if everyone did that, then the war will stop because everyone's aware of what they're doing and saying.
Mm. Yeah, and there's that opportunity for real personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Self-awareness.
Mm. Love that. If you were to leave us frequency seed with everyone listening, something that you wish more people understood on their soul's journey, what would that be?
Mm. I love this question because I've been doing soul conversations, as you know, that I'd love. I don't know, you've never been because you're in Queensland. I haven't done that online yet, but one of the things I'm trying to get people to understand is a lot of the challenges that we are going through, we have planned them for our soul's growth. It's not for our physical growth or our mental growth, it's for our soul's growth. And it's not for karma. It's not to pay out a karma. It's our internal balance. We're finding an internal balance within our soul's evolution. So my soul did this and wants to understand this. So everything that's happening to us, it's not, everything that's happening in the world is not happening to us. It's happening for us.
Or
So if we can acknowledge that, okay, I can't control what's happening there, but I can control how I respond to that. then I'm in the flow of it's happening for me. And let's find the blessing or the silver lining here. And the only way that we can do that is through awareness, becoming aware of what's happening and how I'm responding to that, how I'm reacting, how I'm feeling about that. Because the more that we become aware of what's going on in my internal system and what's happening out there is just evolving something inside of me, then we stop blame. And at the moment, because I've had such drama with my family in terms of family dynamics with different belief systems between my own family, I've attracted a lot of people with family dynamics. And I just look at them and I go, I've been there, I can help you. And the number one thing that I have to give everyone needs to hear this. You will never hear from your parents. Don't expect to hear from your parents what you want to hear to make you feel heard or seen or better. Because I'm not saying it in the way Louise Hay said it. They did the best they could with the knowledge and awareness that they had. I don't want to say it like that. They were unaware of what they were doing or what they've done. And you trying to get an apology for something that they don't get only upsets you more. So we need to make peace and grieve what we expected our parents to be and not expect them to be what we wanted them to be. And when I heard that, we need to make peace and we need to make grief. We need to grieve the parent that we never had. That just changed my whole perspective of it. And you will never hear it. Like, I have a client right now that says, but she did this and they did this and she loves her sisters more and doesn't love me and da, da, da. And I'm like, you're never going to hear that from your mum because you don't know what fear your mum's feeling and why she protected her sisters. Right? She's never going to see it. And a person that lives in fear is in fight or flight. So they're not aware of how they're treating other people. They're only looking at their target. Are you going to hurt me? So now I just say to people, let go of wanting or expecting or having your parents ever acknowledge what they did. And because they've got to be really aware for them to acknowledge that. And they're not. Some do. Some wake up to the point that they go, oh my God, I treat my mum, she's got dementia now. She apologizes for everything. But when she didn't have dementia, she was like, you're rude, you're this, So I had a very tumultuous relationship with my mum, and only through her dementia have I been able to look at her and go, oh my God, this is all I ever wanted from you, was to be this soft person, this beautiful woman that adores me and holds my hand and tells me how much I just sit there in awe now and just think, oh my, everything I wanted I got now. But I could never get from her to admit or to acknowledge the things that she did to a 16-year-old. It's like, Mum, that was wrong what you did. Yeah, but you used to answer back. It's like, Mum, I was 16. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. But you weren't like your brothers. They're boys. They're different to women. So really let go and make peace and grieve the parent that you never had. And when you get to that peace that your parents will never acknowledge what they did as wrong, then you stop judging them and then you stop judging your life. And then you just have peace and you look at them. I have clients now say, I'll never forgive my parents. And I go, yeah, I used to say that too. But trust me, when you make peace with that you'll never get what you expect from them, there's nothing to forgive. So you don't have to worry about forgiving them. Whereas now, I look at my mum and I just get excited to see her. She's a little girl now, but she's my little girl. She gives me now she lets me love her. And so I'm loving being loved back. So that's what I would get to say to everyone. There's a journey out there. It's your soul's journey. And everything that's happening is to refine a bigger moment. And I think all of the work that I've done was never really about me. It was really about helping others. And all of my traumas and what I've gone through has been what's helped others get across the line. And now I look at everything that I've learned. I remember years ago, my brother would say, you're a fraud because you don't talk to Mum. And I was like, yeah, but Mum doesn't want a relationship with herself, let alone me. Now they're like, wow, since you've been in Mum's life, things have changed. And it's like, yeah, because now she's ready to receive love. So I'm allowed to love her now. Now she wants love. So now I'm loving her. So the minute she dropped and let herself be loved, then I could be me and love her. Because all I ever wanted was to love her. And she just rejected me because she didn't get loved. So I think a lot of the work that we do in the end, there's a beautiful peace that we make with our parents eventually. And I think now, I don't expect people to make peace with the parents while they're hurting, but I do believe make peace with yourself while you're hurting, so that when that time comes and your parents need you, you no longer are in conflict with them. Because when mum needed my help was when everything went away. I just jumped in and I said, oh my God, my mum's got dementia. I need to help her. You know, she's been the best friend for me for the last year. Everything I wanted to be, mum wanted to be, she's been in the last year with her dementia. Isn't that cute? So
Mm.
yeah, so just make peace. Make peace with the parents that you never had. Grieve them so that you don't no longer project your hurt and anger onto them. And just make peace with yourself. And you don't need to forgive them. There's nothing to forgive. They're polishing us. My mum's hardness and toughness is what made me soft.
Mm.
You know, my mum's struggles in life is what made me resourceful. You know, my dad's patterns of, you know, he was very there for me, but he drank is what made me aware of not drinking. So all of them are there, all of their challenges that we saw as children are there for our growth.
Yeah.
So that's what I would love to leave everyone with.
Thanks, Ange. And so appreciate connecting with you and chatting further about your journey. It's been really fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap today?
Oh no. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. I'm working with this client that's struggling to move. You've got to have, you know, I never ever thought I'd say this. Music is amazing, but if you're struggling through stuff and you're trying to get beyond and trying to get over the past, music keeps you stuck in the past. So, because as soon as you listen to a song from the past, it just reminds you of the memory of the past. So, if you're struggling with depression and you're struggling with moving forward, get a podcast, get an audio book, and walk and listen to it, because that's new information coming in and you're walking towards something new. Stop walking down the park with your 80s hits, because you're just going to trigger the 80s. I said that to a really good friend of mine, and she said, oh my God, Ange, you've hit the nail on the head. I said, it came to me while I was trying to get this guy. I'm trying to move him across, and I go, what do you do in the morning? And he goes, I get up, I listen to my favorite playlist, and I walk. I go, well, no wonder you're not moving anywhere, because you're listening to memories of the past. So get a podcast, get onto an audio book and walk. And that means you're walking towards something new. That's the
Mm.
final thing I have to share. So
Yeah.
listen to this podcast, everyone, over and over again.
Yeah, there'll be plenty more episodes. And let us walk forward together.
Yes, exactly. All together now.